Tell you, I couldn't be more excited, more honored to be with you today with my good friend, Governor Scott Walker, who I think is the best governor in America. I'm so grateful to my friend for his kind words, but he knows the introduction I prefer is a little bit shorter. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. And it was just a few short weeks ago that it was my honor to accept my party's nomination to run and serve as the next Vice President of the United States of America. And you know, I have to tell you, I joined this campaign in a heartbeat. Joined it in a heartbeat because you all have nominated a man for president who never quits, who never backs down, who is a fighter. He's a winner. And until very recently, it seemed like he was out there all on his own. But now this movement is united. This party is united. And we're going to elect Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States of America. You know, Donald Trump has never forgotten the men and women in this country who work with their hands, who grow the food, who build the roads and bridges, who tend to our sick, who teach our kids. And Donald Trump will never forget or fail to stand by the men and women who stand on the thin blue line of law enforcement in Wisconsin and all over America. Would you mind joining me in just expressing your appreciation for the men and women in our law enforcement community who are with us here today, and let them know how much you appreciate the sacrifices they and their families make for our safety. You know, Donald Trump just gets it. He's the genuine article, isn't he? I mean, he's a doer. He's a doer in a game usually reserved for talkers. And when he does his talking, he doesn't go tiptoeing around all those thousands of rules of political correctness. He just says it like it is, and the American people hear him loud and clear. I mean, if you think about it, where else would an independent, broad-shouldered spirit like his find a following than in the land of the free and the home of the brave? I got to tell you, the funny thing is the party in power just doesn't know quite what to do with our nominee. And of course, I'm talking about the media. I mean, seriously. You know, the media, it's like one day after another. It's just about every day they latch onto some new issue about my running mate. You know, it's just about every hour there's something new they're talking about. And it's amazing. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, they're so busy parsing every word Donald Trump said in the last 30 minutes, they've been ignoring what the Clintons have been doing for the last 30 years. But I got to tell you, it's just kind of amazing out there. It really is amazing. It's like 2-on-1. You know, the national media and Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. But they're still outmatched. You know, it's kind of like if the Packers had to play every single game this season on the road in front of hostile crowds with hometown refs. But just like the Green Bay Packers, the amazing thing is we're still winning hearts and minds every day, and we're going to drive and win all the way to the White House. Now, the media, as I said, they don't have a whole lot of time to talk about what the Clintons have been up to the last 30 years or even the last few days. So let me see if I can help out a little bit. All right? I mean, just earlier this week, Hillary Clinton had a rally. I mean, the press likes to talk a lot about things that happen at rallies for Donald Trump, right? But earlier this week, Hillary Clinton had a rally in which the father of the radical Islamic terrorists who killed 49 Americans just a few short months ago in Florida actually attended, sat behind her on the television screen, and said he was there because Hillary Clinton was, quote, good on national security. And then about a day later, we had some more emails that came out, right? We had more emails that came to light that seemed to provide direct evidence that favors were done by State Department officials for large foreign donors to the Clinton Foundation. And just today, we learned that several months ago, the FBI just talked about opening a public corruption investigation into the Clinton Foundation, and Department of Justice officials at the Obama administration shut that investigation down. You know, the American people are tired of the pay-to-play politics in Washington, D.C., and when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to shut it down. You know, I guess Hillary gave a speech today. Hillary gave a speech today over in Michigan. You know. Yeah. You know, Hillary gave a speech over in Michigan today. It really is amazing if you think about it. The rosy picture that they paint, the same policies over and over again. I mean, she says she's reaching out across the country to even people in the other party, but they're coming with the same old, more spending, more taxes, more regulation, more Obamacare, and more of the same policies in energy that can best be characterized as a war on coal. And it's amazing if you think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, you got great leadership in this great governor in Wisconsin and the state of Indiana. Whatever success we've enjoyed in this state and in my home state has been in spite of the policies of this administration, not because of it. I mean, we just found out, you know, the morning after Hillary Clinton's address to the nation. Did you see her speech when she spoke at the convention? It was. I didn't watch all of it. I had as hard a time staying awake as her husband did. But it was just the same old, same old. It really was, and telling us that things are good in this country when we're in the midst of the weakest economic recovery since the Great Depression. We have the lowest labor participation rate in the American economy since the 1970s. And what breaks my heart most of all is right now there are 7 million more Americans living in poverty today than the day Barack Obama became president of the United States. So let me just say, my friends here in Wisconsin, for the sake of our security, for the sake of our prosperity, for the sake of preserving the highest standards of ethics in the highest office in the land, let's decide here and now that Hillary Clinton will never be elected president of the United States of America. I mean, what's so tiresome, though? I mean, they tell us this economy is the best that we can do. Right? You hear that? But the truth is, it's nowhere near the best that we can do. It's just the best that they can do. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, we're going to put our fiscal house in order. We're going to cut taxes. We're going to repeal Obamacare. We're going to end the war on coal. And we're going to unleash the full potential of the American economy and get this country working again. I mean, Donald Trump has a plan. Let's try Trump. Donald Trump has a plan, everybody. He has a plan. It's all about reigniting the American economy through what we know works, that has worked before. It's about cutting taxes on working families, small businesses, and family farms, lowering the income tax across the board for every American. It's about lowering business taxes so our businesses, large and small, can compete with businesses around the world. And it's about ending death taxes once and for all. It's about cutting the avalanche of red tape in this country. It's about rolling back and repealing Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel. It's about unleashing an all-of-the-above energy strategy that allows America to develop our vast natural resources. And men and women, it's also about having a president who will negotiate trade deals. Negotiate deals that will work for the American worker and the American economy and puts American jobs first. Now I was told, I missed her speech today, but I was told that Hillary Clinton was going to say that Donald Trump's plans are wildly unrealistic. Wildly unrealistic. Well, the only thing that is wildly unrealistic is assuming you can elect the same people with the same failed ideas and have a different result. I, for one, want a president who believes in the wild expectations of the American people and the boundless potential of the American economy. And that man is Donald Trump. And I got to tell you, nothing Donald Trump spoke about this last Monday is theoretical or hypothetical. You've seen it work here in Wisconsin. We've seen it work here in Indiana. If you just live within your means, you let people keep more of what they earn, you make the right investments in education, infrastructure, and even health care, it all still works. I mean, the state of Indiana, I'm very humbled to tell you that about 10 years ago, we did what Wisconsin's done in recent years. We decided to elect common sense conservative leaders who put those principles into practice. And the results have been really remarkable. In the state of Indiana, we've seen extraordinary results. Today, we not only have a balanced budget and made record investments in education and in infrastructure, but as governor, I've actually been able to pass tax cuts every single year since I've been governor. $3.5 billion in tax relief. We actually have more Hoosiers going to work than ever before in the 200-year history of the state of Indiana. And that's exactly what the no-nonsense leadership of Donald Trump is going to bring to the White House and to all the people in the United States. Now, when you talk about the choice that we face at home and the record of the other side and the vision of Donald Trump to make America great again, it gets even more dramatic when you think about the record overseas, doesn't it? I mean, 7.5 years of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton's policies have weakened America's place in the world. Terrorist attacks at home and abroad, heartbreaking scenes on the streets of our allies, a Catholic priest laid to rest, having been murdered in the pews of his own church in France. Attempted coups in our allies. For all the world, it looks like that whole area of the wider Middle East is just spinning apart. History teaches us that weakness arouses evil. And I truly do believe that the foreign policy that Hillary Clinton carried on behalf of Barack Obama, a foreign policy of leading from behind, moving red lines, feigning resets with Russia, the rise and rule and reign of ISIS are a testament to that truth of history. And most appallingly of all, we learned last week that in the wake of that disastrous agreement with the radical mullahs in Iran, on the very day that Iran released 4 American hostages, this administration delivered $400 million in cash in ransom in violation of generations of American policy. Let me make a promise to you. When Donald Trump is president of the United States of America, we won't be paying ransom to terrorists. or terror-sponsoring states, they will be paying a price anytime they threaten or harm or detain the people of the United States or our allies. You know, you have to remember Hillary Clinton's record on foreign affairs. It was Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama who squandered the hard-fought gains in Operation Iraqi Freedom and created the very vacuum in which ISIS was spawned in the deserts, compromising territory that our soldiers had won in Iraq. It was Hillary Clinton who actually instigated that disastrous agreement with Iran, $150 billion. Just a week ago, the supreme leader of Iran actually referred to the relationship with the United States as, quote, deadly poison, and he distanced himself from the agreement that Hillary Clinton boasted of in her acceptance speech. And as we're talking about the record, you know, it was Hillary Clinton and her State Department who left Americans in harm's way in Benghazi. And then after 4 Americans fell, she said, "What difference at this point does it make?" Let me say, as the proud father of a United States Marine, anyone who said that, anyone who did that, should be disqualified from ever serving as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States of America. We cannot, men and women here in Wisconsin, we cannot have 4 more years apologizing to our enemies and abandoning our friends. America needs to be strong for the world to be safe. And I promise you, on the world stage, Donald Trump will lead from strength. He will rebuild our military. He will organize our allies. He will confront those who threaten our people, and he will destroy ISIS at its source. You know, when I think about these times in which we live, I can't help but sum it up in just one phrase. You know, I think the American people are just tired of being told. Okay? We're tired of being told by an elite establishment in Washington, D.C. that this is as good as it gets, right? We're tired of being told by a political class and a national media that says we'll get to solving those issues tomorrow, even though we're going to have the same leadership that we've had all along. And you know, I think we're tired of being told, as Ronald Reagan used to say so eloquently, we're tired of being told that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives better for us than we can plan them ourselves. Donald Trump understands where the strength of this country lies. It lies not in the halls of power in our nation's capital. It lies in the hearts and minds of the American people who have carved a destiny to this date and can carve a boundless future for our nation in the next century. Now, there's one other issue I want to remind you of before I take my leave, and I'm just so grateful that you all would come out tonight. I know I'm kind of a B-list Republican celebrity, so appreciate you being here. But there's one other very serious issue I want you to take from here. Talk to your neighbors and friends, okay? And that is, as this election approaches, we're electing a president for the next 4 years, but let's be very clear on this point. The next president will very likely set the course and direction of the Supreme Court of the United States for the next 40 years. Those of us who cherish the Constitution, limited government, cherish the liberties that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights and our founding documents, we better think very hard about that, okay? I mean, with the passing of the late and great Justice Antonin Scalia, God bless him indeed. What a great man and a great mind. More than any time in my lifetime, the destiny and the direction of the Supreme Court is literally on the ballot this year, because the President of the United States, who's sworn in January of 2017, will make that next appointment, and on so many issues critical to our liberties, could well be the deciding vote. Now, some people are troubled about that. I'm actually not, because I like the idea that the American people will decide the direction of the Supreme Court of the United States in this election. Donald Trump has published an extraordinary list of men and women, accomplished jurists, strict constructionists, people who are in the model of Justice Antonin Scalia. But I'll tell you what, elect Hillary Clinton, you better get used to being subject to more unelected judges using unaccountable power to take unconstitutional actions. So let me say, just to be clear on this point, for the sake of the rule of law, for the sake of the sanctity of life, for the sake of our Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, for the sake of all of our God-given liberties enshrined in our founding documents, we must decide here and now in Wisconsin, in this election, that the next president to make appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States will be President Donald Trump. You know, as I close, I hope you came here tonight not just to hear a speech, or maybe I hope as many of you take a minute to shake a hand and let me thank you for being here. I hope you came here tonight to be encouraged to run your own race in this election. You know, sometimes it's important for us to pay more careful attention to what we already know. You're here because you know the stakes in this election, that it's a choice between real change for the better, change back to the policies and the ideals that have made America great and will make America great again, or the policies, continuing the policies of the failed leadership in Washington, D.C. that has run our economy into a ditch and reduced American influence in the world. But you know, as you go out, I hope you will speak to your neighbors and friends here in Wisconsin more about what unites us than what divides us. I mean, if I have one frustration about these times, and I'm a pretty optimistic guy, I really am. I mean, I've truly been blessed in my lifetime. My grandfather immigrated to this country. He came through Ellis Island from Ireland when he was about 24 years old. Took a train, he drove a bus in Chicago, Illinois for 40 years. Proudest man I ever knew. I was named after him, and that Irish brogue rings in my ear to this day. It really does. He watched his youngest daughter marry this fast-talking salesman who took her down to southern Indiana, right? They bought a little house, cornfield in the backyard. They built a little gas station business in a small town. That's where I showed up with my 3 brothers and 2 sisters. But for all the world, I really do believe that I grew up with literally a front row seat of the American dream. And so did Donald Trump. You know, I mean, truthfully, his grandfather immigrated to this country just like mine. His father was a self-made man, just like mine. And he was someone who believed to whom much is given, much will be required. And he built on what he was given. And I mean, other than a whole lot of zeros, we have a very similar story. I really mean that. So when you're out there talking to neighbors and friends here in Milwaukee and all across Wisconsin, I hope you explain to them, when they hear Donald Trump say, "We'll make America great again," he's talking about the American dream. Yes! He's talking about having the kind of policies that give every American, regardless of race or creed or color, a shot at living out their dreams. Because, you know, when my grandfather came here, the legend in our family is that his mother put his arm around him when he was headed off across the Atlantic and said to him, "You have to go because there's a future there for you." And what she meant was in America, anybody can be anybody. And that's what the freedom of this nation has wrought. and the people of this nation have defended all throughout our nation's history. And I really do believe that reviving the American dream is what this election is really all about. So as you go out, I just encourage you, talk about what unites us, not so much what divides us. Lay out that positive vision to your neighbors and friends. And chief among them for me has always been that throughout our history, from even before there was a United States of America, that the people in this nation, in overwhelming numbers, have long believed and shall ever believe that at our core, our strength resides in the fact that we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So all my new friends in Wisconsin, thanks for coming out. Thanks for being here. We've come to another time for choosing. I mean, really and truly, this is we are at that fork in the road. There's that great poem. My wife, were she here, she'd be urging me to mention a poem by Robert Frost that talks about two roads diverged in a woods, and I took the road less traveled by, and it made all the difference. America has always taken the road less traveled by, the road of freedom, the road of personal responsibility, the road of rugged individualism. And we have a chance to choose that road again, to turn away from the big government, more taxes model of governance that we've seen in the last 7.5 years, and frankly that we've seen creeping up under both political parties, and to turn dramatically back with leadership that believes in the American people. But we got a choice to make. So let me lay it out for you. With boundless faith in the capacity of the American people and faith in God, here's the choice we have to present. If you want a president who will protect this nation, rebuild our military, who will confront radical Islamic terrorism by name, who will marshal the resources to confront and destroy the enemies of our freedom at their source. If you want a president who will restore law and order to the streets of every city and every community in this nation by supporting law enforcement at every level. If you want a president who will cut taxes, grow our economy, roll back federal red tape, squeeze every nickel out of that bloated federal bureaucracy, and repeal Obamacare lock, stock, and barrel. If you want a president who will build a wall, restore strong borders, and enforce the laws of this nation for the citizens of this nation, and I'll promise you this, if you want a president who will upend the status quo in Washington, D.C., and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, then my friends here in Wisconsin, we have but one choice. That man is ready. This movement is ready. This country is ready. Let's leave here and not rest and not relent until we make Donald Trump the 45th President of the United States of America, and we will make America great again.